All right. David Joe, DNA Sports, episode 21. And today we're talking about, actually just off the camera, we were mentioning how there's like an evolution of pitching that we think is taking place, especially with the way coaches have a lack of faith in their starting pitchers when it comes to the playoffs. And you were saying that a sign of a base runner, everybody freaks out. People get in the bullpen in the first inning. And the way we want to connect that today with sports is just the way that, confidence a coach has in players can really affect the outcome of how they're going to perform. And definitely that is a lot more prevalent when it comes to youth sports and high school sports and kids who are still developing on an emotional level. And if it happens in the big leagues, it's definitely going to happen down at our level where we're coaching. So you were talking today about an example with basketball.
Yeah, kid made a bad pass and he was done for a half an hour, and he just couldn't make a play, and then he took his eye off the ball the next time and fumbled the ball out of bounds and missed a layup. And this is in high school, varsity basketball, and the kid just lost it, and we had to take him aside and said, "Look, Grant, it's not the end of the world. Just run your stuff and, have confidence in the next play. Forget about this." But he's had a problem his first 2 years as a junior now of just forgetting. And coaches need to step up. Sometimes players need a pat on the back. They don't need to be yelled at. This kid does not need to be yelled at. Everybody's different. And this kid needs an installation of confidence. And all of our coaches, assistant coaches, just really gravitate to all the kids that really need confidence work. And confidence is everything. You start in baseball, you start losing confidence to throw the ball over the plate, or a kid hits your best pitch and you lose confidence in that. How many times have you seen that? Or I'm throwing really well and all of a sudden I threw this pitch, it's the hardest pitch I ever thrown, a guy got a double off it and the kid totally loses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll say
I bet you saw it in college too. I bet you.
Yeah, I mean, once you get hit, if you don't have the grit to keep moving forward, if you don't have that toughness about yourself, once you get hit, you start to be more fine-tuned on everything, and that actually makes things worse.
My question to you is, can you teach or make somebody evolve into mental toughness?
I think so. It's tough. I don't think it's something that's easy, but it is tough because everyone is coming from a different environment based on how they're being raised, the people in their life, stuff like that. But I do think it's possible. And when you talk about systems breaking down, I agree with that on a physical, more tangible level.
Okay.
But in terms of a mentality, I think a system in terms of how we handle ourselves, our character, what we take pride in, stuff like that type of system, I think that's what can build people into tough players.
A personal system.
Yeah. So if as a coach, who you are as a coach, you build that type of system around the players and that type of culture, that is a system in a way that will breed, I think, of the right mentality in everybody if they learn to buy into it, right? If you're just the guy that shows up as a coach, goes through the motions, yells and screams when people mess up, this was your fault, everyone knows those type of coaches. Yeah. You're never really bringing a kid up to be tough. You're just breaking a kid down.
Right, and the kids don't want to play for you.
Yeah. And some kids are naturally tough. Some kid might take that coach who does that to them and say, all right, well, screw it. I don't care anyways. I'm still going to play my ass off. But other kids, like we're saying, they come from different environments, different backgrounds. They don't respond the same way. So overall, I think everybody would respond to a good system in terms of the environment that you create.
Yeah.
You got to let a kid know that it's all right to forget. When you make a mistake, learn from what happened, but then forget about it.
And you can't make it personal. You can't be a name caller. You can't be, you can't swear at the kid and, there's swearing and there's swearing at the individual.
And that's for everybody. That's in general. I mean, there's a big difference between
absolutely
dropping F-bombs and calling someone.
Yeah, and even just like said, you lost the game for us. Well, you made that personal.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody loses the game individually in a team sport. Nobody does. And to single out somebody, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And, then the kid, talk about confidence, you really have to have tough skin to not lose your confidence when somebody singles you out. So, confidence is everything. And the ability to reach back and overcome mistakes, that separates great players from just okay players. Like Corey Kluber gives up a home run, for example, but he comes back and doesn't allow another hit. I mean, high school pitchers, when they give up home runs, a lot of them are just cooked. They figured, or if some high school player gets dunked on, cooked. But you have to identify, areas where players can be helped, and that's one of them. Say, hey, it's only 2 points when you get dunked on. It's only 1 run when they hit a home run. Don't let your team down by sinking within yourself. Just do what you've been taught and have confidence in what you do well, and just the team will field the ball behind you. The team will guard behind you when you've been dunked on, and just play on.
Yeah.
It's really hard for kids to forget, though. And we don't know their background, like you were saying. And maybe they've been, told, hey, you can't make one mistake.
Yeah. And that's a good point from that, is because we don't know their background, and then they're coming to play a sport where they show up every day and they're with these type of people every single day. That's a great opportunity for them to be molded into a tough player. Right. Because they're going to be in this environment every single day now. So they're leaving their old environment. This is almost in a way their second family when they dedicate all their time to multiple sports, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think in general, this is a good point to think about coming into a good system.
Yeah. A good support system, rather personal. A support system where you're just not a player, and you have to understand, and you have to set these absolutes and rules, to support the individual rather than, just, have a athletic system where you got to do this and this and this athletically. This is personal, and you need a good support system.
Yeah.
We don't know that, maybe a dad or a mom says, you have to get straight A's. You have to get straight A's. It's a lot of pressure on a kid.
Yeah, you can observe, you can have certain assertions that you think, but you'll never actually know, and you can't really accuse anybody.
Yeah, and he brings it on the field. He says, I have to do this, and you can't play like that.
Yeah, there's no telling a parent how they should parent their own kids. You just have to run your system and get the kids to buy into your system. Right.
And, a tensed-up athlete never performs because he can't, we always tell him, play relax, play loose. But, so, you don't want to grip the bat so tight. You want to choke the ball. You don't want to grab the ball so tight when you're shooting a shot. You don't want to grab the football when you're trying to throw the ball 60 yards down the field. It just, you can't play in a tense atmosphere. You can't.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people this.
You have to play with confidence.
When you're focused, I think when you're focused, you are confident. So when you're laser focused, you have to learn to pay attention to what you feel like. So are you relaxed? What do you feel like? What's your body feel like? And when you're zoned in, if you ever made a diving play in baseball or ever made any type of highlight play in a sport, you 100% were not thinking about anything else except for what was going on in that exact play, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about toughness, it's the ability to be just in that moment for a single play, and then you take a break and do it again, especially in baseball. A pitch happens. Take a break, and then you do it again. And if you could be there in every moment versus dwelling on the error you just made, then you're going to be a playmaker.
I was just going to say that.
Tough.
Just go the opposite spectrum. You make an error.
Yeah.
Okay? You make a bad error. You just make an error. How can you recover from that? Okay, you didn't make a spectacular catch. You made an error. Well, want the ball the next time, or they say, don't hit the ball to me. How many times have you seen that? Please don't hit the ball to me. Okay? Don't pass me the ball. I can't shoot anymore. I'm 0 for my first 9. Okay? I want to hand the ball off because I'm 2 for 12 passing.
And that's exactly how it all comes together, too, because if you make an error, the only thing that you can take away from the past is what you did wrong. You can't, that's it. Nothing else can change. If you take away what you did wrong and forget it, the next play, you'll make the play.
Right.
And that's where you will make the highlight play because you learn from your mistakes. But if you're thinking about some girl on the sideline or the error you make or what you're going to have for dinner, you're going to make an error. And if you're that guy who doesn't want the ball, you're going to make an error because you're thinking about everything but trying to help the team win.
Yeah, and you can tell who are really good teammates and who will learn from it and who are just really crappy teammates when a guy makes a bad throw in football. I said, well, he ran the wrong pattern. Rather than say my fault, I got it. You know, I'll be better next time. I'll explain it to you. You know, in the huddle better next time. Or the catcher didn't give me a good target, so I threw it to where he wanted to, and he hit it out. And I didn't want to throw it there. It's his fault. I don't want guys to blame other players. I want guys to accept responsibility and learn from their mistakes and pitch with like ultra confidence and toughness. I mean,
Yeah, I typically want to see people focusing on what they can control, right? Regardless of what your teammate's doing, you can have a talk with him. You can't make him be tougher. You can't make him work harder. But what you can do is work harder yourself. You can focus on your game. You can see what you did wrong in the situation and try to make it better. If you're focusing on things you can't control, then you're not getting better as a player, and then the team doesn't get better.
Right. I mean, today we had an incident in practice where a kid missed a shot because another kid brought his defender. He messed up. He brought his defender right into the path of the shot, and the kid got distracted and missed the shot, and they the shooter complained at the kid. Mm-hmm. Rather than saying, hey, look, you're supposed to make this cut rather than that cut, and don't bring your guy to me, like this is the way the coaches want it, this is the way it's set up. No, he complained at him, so we had to stop practice and say, you can't make it personal. We'll get you guys to understand a little better, but don't be blaming your teammate.
Mm-hmm. And that's you make a great point. That's a great scenario because if you can learn how to talk to people about sensitive issues that could offend each other, if you learn that now, that carries over to everything you do. You need to learn how to communicate with people.
Yeah.
If you're just always the guy that attacks people and makes it personal, you're not going to get very far.
No, you're not going to succeed in life, and because you're going to have many of those situations where you end up working. Most of these situations, we're not talking about pro athletes here, and you go into the workplace or you go at home and you start, not accepting responsibility. It's going to be a tough life for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I really can't stress that enough because, we know how little the rate is of playing professional sports in any sport. So, that's why I love sports in general because you take away so much from it other than just the sport itself. Yeah. Not to mention how fun it is. That's a different story. But
yeah, that's the reason you play in the first place. Yeah. But people don't realize, except us and people in the profession, how tough it is. It's just tough. There's so many good athletes, and you have to be lucky. You just to be seen. You just have to be lucky in how your physical attributes. You just have to be just extremely lucky. It's so hard to be making that. Every kid sees that, hey, they're making so much money. Well, they're one in a million.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Even the coaches, you got all these coaches that are making a lot of money, and then you have guys like us, we're making nothing. Mm-hmm. But, we've been doing it for a long time. I've been coaching for 32 years, and, I like to think that I'm as researched and qualified as the guys who are making $10 million a year on my level. I'm obviously not a manager or professional or MLB coach, but I'd like to think I'm as well prepared as them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You're definitely an expert when it comes to what we do. We coach athletes at the high school level, some college level even, and younger kids, and we prepare them for life and developing.
And we have to make
as a
sure
person,
that
as a character.
Yeah, we have to make sure that we're doing the right things because we're at the ground floor of youth of athletes, and they have to learn the right way because maybe they can get to a really high level. But if we're teaching them and coaching them the wrong stuff, we're doing disservice to them, and they'll eventually bomb out.
Yeah,
and it's going to be our fault.
And
there's a lot of coaches like that. That's why we're doing this to try to. This is part of the mental side of sports. We wanted to talk about this today because the physical side of sports. A lot of people teach it, and there's sites and teachers all over the world, coaches all over the world. But I don't know. There's more than just the physical part of sports.
Yeah, that's why. If you're not a tough player or have tough attributes about yourself, you're not going to make it to the pros in any level.
No.
Though every guy in the pros, yes, they're incredibly talented. They're athletic. They're skilled. They're tough, though. Because there's a lot of shit that they endure, from the physical side or any other side that goes on in their life that they wouldn't endure if they didn't have that mental grit, that ability to get up and get going.
The guys who are in the pros are the toughest ones that made it through, for example, being in rookie league. I've had a couple players do that. They had 14-hour days.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the athletes, start dropping. They get weeded out because some don't want to pay the price of working out and getting on a bus and going to another site and playing and then getting on a bus that goes home. So you practice, you got on a bus, you played a 3-hour game and you go home. Okay, that's a lot out of your day. And they practice for a long time because they want to see, will guys' arms fall off because of the workload? Will guys lose their love of baseball because of all the work that's entailed to try to get to the big leagues or even the next level of minor leagues? So it's survival.
And they're not making anything at that level either. So it's really the test of
some of the college kids, right? Some of the college kids get these bonus, but you got the other kids from other countries, and they're making squat, and it's survival of the fittest, man. And these guys want, I've heard a lot of bad stories about, they'll do anything to stay in this country. And, it gets dog eat dog, they want to win that starting spot and they'll do whatever it takes and they'll make it tough on you in a lot of different areas. So, it's a tough racket. It's a tough business and people don't realize it.
Yeah.
You got the Dominicans and the Venezuelans and you got the Asians and the kids from Mexico, the kids from Puerto Rico, they all want to stay here. They all want to play big league baseball. That's where the money is. Most of them come dirt poor. They don't get the bonus money that the college kids or the high school kids that are stars in America. They don't get that money, so they have to earn it.
They come here to compete.
Yeah,
it is work. It's work and fun for them. That's the best part. So. I think sometimes in America, a lot of the athletes take things for granted.
Yeah.
Even if you're not going to the pros, if you're playing sports at a competitive level, make your skills and your challenges align and just compete your ass off all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
If something's too easy for you, figure out how to make it harder. That's what produces, toughness in a sense.
Yeah, you have to be told you're doing something wrong. The part of the problem that's, in American sports is the parents think their kids never do anything wrong and it's perpetuated and they tell us, hey, it's not your fault, it's somebody else's. Well, there you go. Yeah. They're not being taught mental toughness.
Yeah. I think the best part is when those same kids have all these dreams to play, at this level, at that level in the pros. Here's the reality. If you did 100 push-ups today and you thought it was enough, some kid is doing 200. Some kid's doing 300 and 400 squats. Some kid's running 6 miles and you ran 2 miles. That's the reality of it. So when you wake up and you think you did enough, do more.
But mommy and daddy say you did enough because nobody else will be doing more. And you got kids doing, like you said, way more than you're doing. Mm-hmm. And excuse making. You know, it was the other kid's fault, or you know, the kid really did work hard. Well, no, he didn't.
Yeah. I mean, everyone can always work harder, and that's the thing. If you're willing to push yourself to some of your limits, as a coach, if you're watching this, push yourself to the limits to figure out a better practice plan. Push yourself to the limits to figure out how to develop a better culture, or to push your kids to work out harder.
Right.
And to get them to understand that what they're doing isn't enough because some other kid in their spot is doing more than that.
Yeah.
And if everyone's always, especially on a team, if everyone's revving up like that engine just keeps going, then you really got a competitive atmosphere, and everyone's working together, and they're trying to be the best. And at some point, someone's going to beat out a shortstop, and it's going to suck not to play. But at the same time, they've had so much fun doing this, they understand. If you put 100% into something and you don't get it, yeah, of course, that sucks, but at least you know that you actually deserve where you are.
Yeah.
So you warm up the left fielder, and when your time comes, take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So you just keep on revving. That's as a team. If everyone did that, that's what produces a winning atmosphere.
Yeah. My dad always said, you're not working hard enough. It's not that there was no excuse that you got to work harder. You want something, you work for it, you earn it. You know, nobody's going to give you anything.
Yeah.
That's pretty good advice.
That's it.
God bless you, Dad. My dad was 100 yesterday. That was his birthday yesterday, so he would have been 100 yesterday. So thanks, Dad. Thanks for the good advice. And, you know, it's like,
I mean, it's so true. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
People always think you see celebrities or people.
I have a question for you.
People call them success stories.
Let's say, let's say somebody from your park, the star, you know, he dominates. Then he meets guys who are just as talented than him.
Mm-hmm.
What happens?
Well,
how does he succeed? How does he fail?
It depends, because sometimes that person rises to the occasion. And so, like, it kind of goes back to what we talk about. How are they being raised? How are they being treated by peers, by family, by parents? Are they being praised by the parents all the time? My son's the best, the best, the best. Never met a failure before? Because then when you meet kids that are as good as you, you're going to crawl into a shell. But if you're a kid that just, you happen to be in an area, you're the best, and there's just no one close to you, but you're humbled, and your parents teach you to be humbled, and they show you, like, you know, have respect for others, like, keep working hard, and you know, teach them the importance of competition, not just, you know, winning and all of that. That type of environment, you put a big fish in a small pond into a big pond, he's still going to compete his ass off.
Right.
Right? So it really just depends, and that's why it's hard. You got to fall into a good system, not in terms of how you teach baseball, but how you teach people, I guess.
Yes. And I've seen, like, the reason I asked it, I've seen guys that just dominate their competition, then they go to minor league ball or they go to college, and you never hear from them again.
Yeah.
Because now I've met guys that are as good as me or better, and I either have, and it came really natural to me, so I have to really either work at it or give up. And a lot of them just give up. I said, I don't want to work that hard for this. I'm just going to go into my dad's business or be a, you know, be some sort of major where I don't have to deal with competition. Sometimes
some people just like the easy route.
And
that's fine. There's nothing.
There's nothing wrong with it.
If you feel happy and fulfilled, that's fine. But if you have different dreams, different goals, it's most likely going to be the hard path.
Yeah, and you know, you find out if you're competitive or not, and it's like, it's not even within the team. It's, do I have this in myself to max out my ability and just to counter what I have to get better, and I want to get better.
Yeah, it's internal.
It's internal, right?
All right, let's wrap it up.
Episode 21. Thanks to Mike Herrera, our director, engineer, and all-around good guy, and Dave and Joe. We'll see you for episode 22 shortly. And it snowed here today, so
that sucks.
Yes. See you later.